Cool. I think we are pretty much ready to go. So, depending on when you've joined the stream, first of all, hello, welcome. I'm Matthew. This is my Ironheart Challenge Saturday long training ride. Stream itself has a bit of a delay, so what I'm doing is about a minute ahead of what you might see on the stream. If you post anything in the live chat, that's okay. I'll be keeping an eye out for it, but there might be a bit of a delay between me A, seeing, B, noticing, and C, replying. But yeah, for now, I'm just getting started. It's just hit 11:01. Course I'm doing today, or the course I'm using today for my training, is the 90-kilometer segment of Ironman Cairns. I was hoping to do something a little bit more local, but Ruby, the platform I'm using, only had the 40-kilometer version, which doesn't quite take me to 3 hours. Not because I am that good, but just due to the nature of virtual cycling and all that sort of thing. Yeah, my biggest supporter in all this is my darling wife Caitlin, who is outside cutting bricks for the house, and she's busy laughing at me because I've just gotten started, and I'm sure she wants to know what's up. And oh, did I? Sorry. And I locked her out of the house.
Hello viewers, is anybody there?
Not yet, but that's okay. They might catch up. Oh, there she is. So that's sort of 20-30 second delay for anyone having a squiz. It's you.
Can I see me?
Yeah, I saw you come in. Remember, it's got a delay, so. Bye, sweetie. Have fun. Okay, so. While I'm still sort of warming up, probably a good time to do some introductions to what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and sort of the end goal. So, where to begin? Heart health. Doing this fundraiser for the Heart Foundation Australia, hoping to raise at least $2.5 grand for them as sort of the first target. It'd be really good if we could hit the stretch goal of 5,000, but 2.5 is my sort of where I first want to start with. Why the Heart Foundation? Um, they advocate and educate Australians on heart health. I'm not sure exactly on the stats, but up until sort of cancers took over as the leading cause of death in Australia, it was cardiovascular disease that was the leading cause of death. Good thing, but sad thing that it's changed in my eyes. Probably on one hand, people are living relatively healthier lifestyles than they used to. Sad thing, don't want people dying of anything except old age, really. Don't quote me on if that's true or not in terms of mortality rates. But yeah, for me personally, when I was about to turn 7, my dad's dad died of a heart attack. Really conveniently, just before I was going to see him for school holidays way back when. And yeah, that really knocked not only me but the entire family around the bush a fair bit. It's probably an understatement, but and then more recently, his sister, my dad's aunt, passed away from effectively a heart attack as well. So heart health has been at the forefront of the family for quite some time. For me as well. Last year, sort of March, February, I'd hit a real big block, like a brick wall in my training. I'd just done 70.3 Melbourne, which is a Ironman triathlon. Kudos to the branding, conveniently coming on stream there. And I was really proud of that. Really proud of being able to achieve that and lose weight and be healthier. But yeah, I just sort of hit a brick wall and couldn't get back into it in the slightest. So went to my doctor. Was like, hey, what's going on? Did some blood tests. Did a blood pressure test. And also at the time I was like really tired during the day and on my drives home from work. I found often, not every day, but often enough, especially before I'd started training, that I was falling asleep in the car on the drive home. And I was like, I've got a family history of sleep apnea as well, so what's the bet, doc, that I've got a bit of that? And I was like, okay, all good. So first things first, did a blood pressure test, which anyone can go do one. Check in with your doctor regularly, regardless of your lifestyle, because you never know, you might have high blood pressure from being overweight or having high cholesterol or even just a high amount of life or work stress. So took my blood pressure. It was well above the normal range. And he said, that's okay. Let's do it again. Because sometimes people in doctors' offices naturally get a bit nervous and can lead to high blood pressure. So we did it again. Settled in the chair a bit, got all relaxed, cracked a joke, measured it again. It was still high. And we're like, okay. Still could be this white coat syndrome. Go off and get yourself a blood pressure monitor. So I did. Took my blood pressure for a week. All week, I was in the high range, above 130 over 80, which for some schools of thought, 130 over 80 is still in the normal range, but doctors are sort of starting to look at that as high normal these days, particularly in the States. And yeah, he was satisfied enough that my blood pressure was high enough to diagnose me with mild high blood pressure and put me on blood pressure meds, just to help keep the heart protected during the day-to-day, especially while I'm still so young. Which probably leads into the next part of the story, which is the sleep apnea part. So yeah, we, with my doctor, organised to do a sleep study, and what that is effectively you get a Cyberman looking box connected to a little thing that sits on your nose. It's sort of like the oxygen thing you might see in hospitals, but it's for measuring oxygen coming out. Keep the sensors on the head, and a pulse oximeter. The purpose of the sleep study is to see what your blood oxygen, breathing, heart rate, all that sort of thing is doing. And what sleep apnea is moments in the night where effectively you stop breathing. It's usually caused from an obstruction of the airway due to physiology, quite prevalent in men who are well set like me, but I've seen plenty of people on the internet who look far more healthily bodily composition who sometimes still have it. So it's not a hard and fast rule that you need to be a fat man to have sleep apnea, but it's probably one of the big warning signs. So had a look at that. It was less that I was having extended periods of no breathing, but I was having lots of little periods of no breathing. So got diagnosed with a mild form of sleep apnea, effectively. What that meant was I had to go on a CPAP machine, which is a little machine that puts a thing on your nose or your mouth, depending on how you sort of sleep at night. And it creates positive air pressure to force you to keep your airway open while you sleep. Quite a weird experience at first, but something I got used to very quickly. And then that way, throughout the night, you're breathing more. And why that's important is if you are not breathing overnight, you're not getting oxygen, your body can't go through its natural rest and recovery, and that's what leads to exhaustion during the day. But what it also can lead to is higher blood pressure, because your heart's trying to pump around oxygen to everywhere it needs to go, and obviously not breathing, less oxygen, needs to work harder to do its job. So I've been on the sleep apnea machine for well over a year now. One of the best decisions I've made, and glad I got onto it when I did. I've been told I snore a lot less. That's probably the other indication that one might have it if you're a snorer. And yeah, it'd be very rare. It'd only be a case if I had a really bad night's sleep or I forgot my sleep sleep apnea machine, CPAP machine, that I have any of the sort of classic symptoms, waking up groggy, falling asleep while driving, that sort of thing. And that was really important that all those went away, because as part of my job, I drove a light truck for work. But even driving a car, you don't want to mix falling asleep and driving. So, one-way ticket to not ending well for you, for others, all that sort of thing. And yeah, so that's sort of my heart health journey. The weight journey is certainly part of it as well. And it's not, being fat is a bit of it's a rough word to say, but it doesn't just mean that you've got all the good belly fat that every good dad bod should have. It means that you've also got internal fat around your heart, lungs, that sort of thing. And fat in those sort of areas is quite stiff. Now the heart being a muscle, needs to squeeze to do its job. And can't squeeze properly because it's all covered by fat. Then it needs to squeeze harder. High blood pressure, cardiac issues, heart attacks, that sort of thing. So for me, trying to get on top of my weight has been the consistent struggle in the journey. I haven't been below 100 kilograms since I turned 18. Not that I was really keeping track around then. I had things like year 12 and footy to focus on, but that's when my weight first sort of went from, my body composition went from Matt's one of the dudes at school to Matt's one of the big dudes at school. It's fluctuated since then. Generally, it was an upward trend until I started doing my training back in 2023, which is when I started training properly. More recently, just before Christmas, gallbladder decided it was time to give up on me. That ironically led to some really high blood pressures because I was busy putting my body through the ringer, not in a good way. So yeah, had to have emergency surgery to get that out, which was not fun, but I'm now feeling a lot better. But as a consequence of that, I really had to stop my training. And it took me a few months to sort of start getting back into it. Only about 6 weeks ago, I want to say, did I really get back on the train? Pardon me. But even then, the weight was just increasing, which is very frustrating, as I'm sure you can imagine. Doing high volume training, now I do a very physical job. Weight going up was a bit of a shock. And yeah, a bit tricky to manage when you're doing high volume training like these sort of things, because quite naturally it makes your body very hungry. So that hunger can be tricky to control. So caught up with the doc 2 weeks ago. It's like, hey, weight's going up despite getting back on the wagon. What can we do? And yeah, we talked about going on to medication called Wegovy, which is basically the same as Ozempic. And I've started that. And what that's doing for me is, if you know me well, known as a big eater, always a fan of a big breakfast or a charcuterie board. Basically could never feel full, which is problematic when you're trying to keep the belly down, but that's okay. It's just one of those things. But what Wegovy I've noticed for me has done is help make me actually feel full, which can be a bit of a weird feeling sometimes. Ooh, we've had a donation come through. Where are we at? I'll update soon. Oh. Ooh. Ooh. Thank you, Sue, for your donation. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you'll see on the live stream that updates shortly. But in case it doesn't, I've seen that has come in. Thank you very much for supporting me. Where was I at? Wegovy, losing weight. Losing weight now. Still trying to keep it as a healthy sort of losing weight. Because one of the other tricky things is very active job, very active training. You can cause a lot of issues by under eating and under being poor with your nutrition. Particularly the ladies in the triathlon realm are at risk, but happens to some men too. Biggest local triathlon name that I can think of that's experienced this syndrome is a triathlete from Canberra called Penny Slater. She works at the University of Canberra, but she's a professional triathlete. Just won an Ironman in the States, her first ever win. What this syndrome is called RED-S syndrome, or relative energy deficiency syndrome. And it's basically when you've had not enough intake for so long that your body can no longer take the energy from food that you eat and put it to where it needs to go in the body. And can be quite dangerous, can be quite interruptive to your normal life, as well as your training life if you're partaking. The ladies, things to watch out for, or things to watch out for your friends if you've got friends who are struggling with things. Period stop is the main sign. If you're within the age of which periods are a regular occurrence and you're not trying for a kid. Lots of fatigue for the gentleman. It's the loss of certain tense being present in the morning, and for both, quite often it's you need to wake up in the middle of the night to go to the loo. So that's something that I'm trying to stay on top of and not end up in, because it can ultimately lead to other things as well, like losing bone density, which means stress fractures and fractures in general become a lot more common. So that's sort of my personal part of the challenge now. Having a review of my blood pressure, so make sure the medication's actually working. Good news, it has been, but I'm catching up with the doctor in a few weeks just to confirm that he's happy with that and the dosage. And yeah, so that's sort of the medical and personal reasons. Sort of part of my whys. Probably means it's a good time to turn into what is the Iron Heart Challenge. So, a few things. The iron part of Iron Heart Challenge is the event that I'm going to do May next year, May 8th, which is a Sunday. Don't quote me on that. And I'm going to do an iron distance triathlon, sort of on my own. So I'll be on my own completing the event. No one else swimming, cycling, or running with me. But Caitlin has very kindly given her support to help make sure I have aid stations along the bike course, getting me to the lake where I'm going to start the triathlon, and be there for me on the run course as well. And what a iron or full distance triathlon is it's based on the Ironman distance. For those that are familiar, famous one in the world is the one in Hawaii. That's done every year. That's the World Championship. And then sort of in Australia, we've got 3 full Ironman races. Cairns, which is the course I'm doing today, Port Macquarie, which is also known as Ironman Australia, and Ironman Western Australia, which is down at Buckingham. And I'd love to do one of those one day, but my challenge to myself is to do it on my own, essentially, because the cost of entering one of these races, travelling there, I could instead donate and see that go to a good cause instead. And of course, it's closer to my heart than just a medal at the finish line. So that's the iron part of the Iron Heart Challenge. Heart is both the donations to the Heart Foundation Australia that everyone is supporting me with, and also my own heart health, but probably more importantly, hopefully, everyone who's watching, following, keeping track is inspired to take steps to improve or maintain their heart health as well. There's simple ways you can do that. First thing you should do is go do a heart health check with your doctor, or if your pharmacy has that equipped, do it at your pharmacy. The main thing they'll check is your blood pressure, and then you can go chat with your doctor about the results and what that means for you. Anyone can go do that. Doesn't matter if you have a family history or an event. You should just go do it to understand what's happening inside your body. And then the challenge part is all that combined. The challenge is soon to eventually 11 months of training, the event itself, and acknowledging sort of how tricky it is to look introspectively at your health and challenge yourself to ultimately treat yourself with grace, and treat your body the way it deserves to be treated, so that way you can be there for yourself and your family and have many more tomorrows together with them. Yeah, that's the Iron Heart Challenge in a nutshell. Ooh. Alrighty, so that's a little bit about what my training looks like. Training is one of those wonderful things that you need to try and squeeze in around every other aspect of your life. You shouldn't try and squeeze your life around your training unless you're a pro athlete. But it's sort of investing time in yourself. My training is currently hovering at around training 5 out of 7 days a week. Monday is usually my day off as a bit of a recovery day, and depending on how I'm feeling during the week, Wednesday is my usual other day off, just to spread the load and allow the body to recover a bit. But sometimes on that day I'll do what's called active recovery, which are things like yoga, stretching, resistance bands, that sort of thing, or a swim. Swims can be active recovery as well. You just need to be purposeful in what you do. The rest of my training at the moment, 3 rides a week. At this stage of the game, they're all sort of this lower intensity, volume building, so that way my body can absorb more training. Fitting between 1 and 2 swims in a week, depends on what we're doing, where we're going, but definitely a minimum of 1. And that's still sort of in the just get back in the water, rebuild your consistency with swimming sort of training. And finally the runs, of which this week's probably going to be the first week where I'm going to do 2 runs in a week. I did a run yesterday, and I'm going to try and go for a run tomorrow. The reason for the more limited running is because I do work a very physical job, carrying around effectively a 20 kilo knapsack most of my working days. And what that means is I need to make sure my body recovers from that load as well. And it's sort of balancing the fact that my body naturally goes through a lot of work. I need to respect the load that takes on me and really target what I do with the running. So if you've been following the Instagram, my weekly updates, you'll notice that run has been fairly low, especially compared to cycling. I think last week I had nearly 100 k's of cycling built in, and only 5 k's of running, but that's okay. Not everyone's training and lives look the same. And it's important if you do go down any sort of endurance sports journey that you make sure you aren't taking too much away from your regular life trying to chase triathlon glory. So the purpose of today's ride is a few things. Firstly, build endurance in the saddle, just by simply being on the bike and pedaling for a long time, 3 hours. So far we have 35 minutes into that 3 hours. But also you'll notice what I'm doing is I'm leaning down and putting my arms together. And if I bring that down and wait 30 seconds for the stream to update, I can explain that a bit better. And you can sort of see it with the bike on the screen as well. Part of triathlons is being as aerodynamic as you can. Just put that down a bit more. And part of being as aerodynamic as you can is being in this real narrow, streamlined position. You think swimming, faster swimmers are in that real pencil shape. This is the same sort of thing for the bike. So what I've got underneath this towel are 2 elbow pads, and I lean on these bars, and these are where the gears are. So these are where I change how fast I want to go, and I think they're just out of the screen, but a little bit further down we've got it's called the hoods. That's where my brake levers are. So when I'm performing and stuff or needing to have a bit more control, I go out like this, do a wide stance, which you can see now, but most of the time meant to be in this stance. So most triathlon courses aren't so hilly or climby that you really need like to be down at the bottom. And because I'm not a pro and I can't necessarily get a true bike fit, this is probably as good as I'm going to get it. I do sometimes sit up here with the arms on the elbow pad. It's just a little bit more comfortable for the recovery portions of my ride, because I'm still building the strength in my core and my shoulders to hold the aero position for the same periods. And so I've sort of been doing so far this ride 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off. That also helps me stay on top of my nutrition, of which I have a bottle holder in the handlebars, and I've got another bottle holder in the traditional bike position. If you go onto the tube or Instagram or Facebook and you look at what pros have on their bikes, their bikes are absolute weapons. Quite a lot of them will have some sort of bottle set up around where their arms are leaning down, but also they'll have them on the back. So where you see the bum of the rider on the screen, you'll quite often see at least a bottle, if not 2 there. And that's so that way they're in the most aerodynamically advantaged spot. So that way they can go fast, but spend less energy trying to do it. Pardon me. And that will bring me into how do I keep myself fueled during my training, in particular on my rides, and then consequently during the event itself. Nutrition for long distance events very typically would not be heart healthy would have a 0 out of 5 star rating if you were to do it at the shops, because it is essentially sugar. It's carbohydrates in the simplest form. Our body burns carbohydrates and fats, and carbohydrates are easier for the body to burn. So my nutrition at the moment, I'm trialing sort of the minimum recommended, which is 30 grams of carbs per hour. We'll probably eventually build up to 60 grams of carbs per hour, depending on how I'm going, and that's what will sort of safely keep my body fueled and active during training and the rides. Some of you may think, oh, but Matt, aren't you training to lose weight? Yes, but weight is lost in the kitchen, which is where the Wegovy sort of comes into it. My goal is to be relatively energy calorie neutral during my training, and then in a healthy calorie deficit the rest of the time, and that way I can steadily, healthily lose weight and not dip into that red S syndrome that I talked about earlier. Real top performing athletes might do sort of the current ceiling is 120 grams of carbohydrates per hour, but those guys are doing like this sort of hill that I'm doing now at 40 k's an hour, whereas I'm sweating doing it at 20 and less. So my body is naturally not burning as many carbohydrates as them, and inevitably during the races and during some training, no matter how many carbs you bring in or train your gut to bring in, you won't actually recover that energy deficit, which is okay. That's what you got the fat for. Fat is sort of considered that unlimited fuel source, and sort of this low intensity training helps teach your body to try and use that. Now, obviously, I won't do it as effective today, but that's because I'm trying to keep the energy curve rather than going down steeply as I use up all the carbs in my body from breakfast straight away. I'm trying to keep it steady so that way I can do 3 hours of relatively easy riding. But even the fastest Kenyan marathoner, as skinny as they look, the body still has fat within the body enough that they can do those runs, those 2-hour marathon world records, taking in very little carbohydrates, because they've managed to train their body to exclusively use their fat as their fuel. Which on my level, skinny goals, but alas, I've got that nice big European winter frame. So yeah, that's my fuel, that's my training. Probably a good chance now to talk about how I actually train. So if you look on the bottom left corner of the screen, you'll see a bunch of stats there, a bunch of numbers moving around all the time. Training and endurance sports aren't just about speed anymore. Naturally, you've got to keep that speed up for a long time if you want to win, or if you're in a ticketed event for each cut-off times for road closures and that sort of thing. So, on the left hand corner, down the very bottom, we've got speed. We'll work left to right, bottom up. Next to speed, we've got my heart rate. I've got a Garmin heart rate monitor just hidden in here. You'll see all sorts of athletes wearing them, not just endurance athletes, rugby players, footy players, anyone who wants to stay in the know. And what that has is sort of electrodes that sit there, and science happens and it measures my heart rate electrically through the skin. Then we have that funny circling line going through its symbol. And that's my cadence. So with a degree of accuracy, and that's replicated on the cyclist as well, that's how fast per minute, how many rotations per minute I'm spinning my legs. And the idea is, the more you can spin your legs, it's like using a pulley. The faster you spin your legs, the less work you put your knees and your quads through. Moving up, we have that line with sort of the grey, the blue and the green. Currently in Z2, which is blue. That's my time in power zones. Oops, it's just changed to grey. And what power is it's the literal measurement, again within a degree of accuracy, how much power you're putting through the pedals while you're riding. So most of this ride I'm meant to stay in Z2, zone 2. And I use a 5 plus zone model. What zone 2 is like easy aerobic work. So you could hold it all day, have conversations like we are now, but still working up a bit of a sweat. The grey, zone 1, that's like super easy. It's like no effort at all. Typically kept for warm-ups, cool-downs, or you flick between zone 1 and zone 2 for an easy aerobic work like today. Zone 3, I'll slowly build into, try and hold in. Yep. Zone 3 is high aerobic work. It's that middle ground between going fast and going steady. Sort of a tempo. Zone 4, which is let's get up there. Here, yellow, that's your theoretical 1 hour maximum. So theoretically, I should be able to hold yellow zone for an hour. And then that's what your threshold. And once you're above your threshold, and when you're in your threshold, that's when you're really doing what's called anaerobic work. And that's when you're really huffing and puffing. And you can see with the heart rate, it also has zones there. Not prescribed to do this platform's heart rate suggestions. It's not set up with my zones exactly, but it sort of lines up with how I feel I'm riding. And in terms of training, easiest way to train is called RPE training, rate of exertion. That's how hard do you think you're going, because your body's usually pretty switched on. Then the next step is heart rate, because a lot of people's watches these days have heart rate monitors in them, some more accurate than others, but that's like the next step. It's something you can measure about your body, what it's doing. Power, however, is the gold standard, but not platinum standard, because no matter who you are, if you're all putting out 160 watts of power, we're all putting out 160 watts of power. It can be really easy for you, it can be really hard, doesn't matter, but it's consistent to everyone. Watts of watts is what I've heard. Alright, let's come out of the glass for a second. And then this super fancy top tier. Right, first strength done. Second one, gotta wait at least 10-15 minutes before I start sinking my teeth into that. Yeah, platinum standard for really pro level athletes is something called lactate testing. That's where they test the buildup of lactic acid in your blood and how well you can essentially absorb that. Caitlin's back. Hey, sweetie. I'm not sure. I think it's just me. People. Yes. I can't see the names of people watching, so that's okay.
I've done 61.
Yep.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this. And then I'm going to drop more of these.
Yep. Okay.
My hand, my wife.
You got your gardening gloves somewhere?
That's not it's not going to help.
I don't know, but it might help a little bit.
Better news.
Oh, you found a gecko.
And a gecko. I might have killed him with bug spray. I don't know where he went.
Sure, it'll be okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'll plug in my AirPods and I'll grab my keys. So you can shut this again if you want. Or do you like to breathe?
Oh, no, I'll try that. It's all fine. Right. Love you, Bubba. Yep. Bye. Cool. Alright, wait. More things about Ruby, this training platform. Down the very bottom in the middle is sort of the course itself. So the numbers are distance gone, distance to go, elevation gained, elevation to go. And then the colors, you got yellow, you got green, and you got orange. I think sometimes it goes to red. I haven't gone up a red yet. Those are sort of the grades of elevation. If you look on the very right, I've got that little squiggly line and the plus 2.3%, 1.9 now. That's the grade, theoretically, of the road that I'm going up. So this is a 1.9% hill. Not super steep, steep enough to put a big heavy rider like me through their paces, long enough too. If we have bigger long climbs, then it'll do little sections, sort of like the Tour de France, which actually tells you how long you've got to go on your climb. So green is relatively flat or negative elevation, so flat or going downhill. Yellow, a bit steep for most riders, nothing too bad. Orange, moderately steep, put everyone through their paces a bit. Anything above that, it's like a proper climb. Unless you're Tadej Pogacar or one of those crazy climbers, you'll notice. Tricky thing for a time trial bike, as I was sort of talking about before, they're designed for going fast on flats, but you can still do a bit of climbing, put you through your paces. That's why we have gears, but my gearing definitely more geared towards flatter, or relatively flat riding. Now, funny then that the course for the challenge has over 1,000 meters or close to 1,000 meters of climbing. That's okay. That's why it's a challenge. But yeah, the hills are where I've really got to be disciplined in how much power I'm putting out. Because if I use too much of that zone 3, zone 4 power, then I won't have enough energy to keep up with the zone 1, zone 2 power for an extended period. And so what typically happens for me when I climb is my cadence drops. I get into the right gear as best I can. We go from there, and the speed drops naturally. Downhills, in real life, use my weight to my advantage. Gravity pulls down. Also, I can spin a bit easier. A bit faster, high gears, same effort, sort of, same watts, high cadence, less load on the knees, faster speed. And faster as well, if you consider the watts is sort of every pedal stroke. So if I'm putting down 90 pedal strokes, or 80 pedal strokes of 160 watts per stroke, compared to 70, theoretically I'll go a bit faster. And with this sort of riding, it's all about finding a comfortable position in an arrow, a comfortable cadence to maintain good watts. And you can enjoy the scenery. Where is my, I think I left it in the car. Yep. Cool. appreciate it. Alright. Hello everyone. Alright, bye sweetie. What other data have we got that you can see? On the stream itself, I can't see it on the laptop. Over the big banner there. That's got a live updating tracker of how much has been donated. And thank you to everyone who has donated so far. If your screen's big enough, you can scan the QR code that's there. That'll take you straight, or should take you straight to the donation page. There's also the link in the description and the one I put in the chat. That's what I can see. Top left hand corner lists the other riders that are doing this course live with me, sort of, and the amount of watts per kilogram they're putting out and how far away they are from it. So Nano DW101 is 53 k's ahead of me. He's probably that little green dot you can see down the bottom. And then Taylor Delta in their workout, who's chasing me down, is 4.3 k's behind me. And hopefully they catch up and you'll see a little virtual rider come past me, which will be cool. And that's sort of what Ruby looks like. If you've ever used Zwift, it's sort of a cross between Zwift and the real world. I've used Zwift, I've used Ruby naturally, and I've used Full Gas. And I think Ruby's my favourite because I can do real life courses like this one, but I can also do things like upload my actual course that I'm going to be doing. Can't follow it along like this because I haven't filmed it, but can follow along with map view, and it has the appropriate elevation and stuff, which I think is pretty cool, as it were. I did that for my long ride last week, just to see where 3 hours got me. It got me pretty far. Got me pretty good. And then what you can't see, because it's behind my beautiful face, I've got a timer there. The Ruby also has levels for your riding. And it has a little experience bar there. And sometime during this ride, probably going to go from level 16 to level 17. And it will go up on the screen. And it'll look really amazing. It'll make me look so much better of a rider than I think I am. Especially because I would not take this hill pedaling at 50 k's an hour. Not quite that keen. A bit more about my training setup. I've got a fan, keeps me cool. Toughest part about riding indoors is you don't get the wind, so you run naturally hot because your body can't evaporate the sweat as naturally as outdoors. Fan keeps me not insane. I've got the bike obviously, got a towel to absorb the sweat, keep the bike in one piece. Then I'm on a Wahoo kicker trainer, one of the ones which doesn't have the wheel on. It's called direct drive. It's where rather than having a stereotypical tyre wheel, I connect straight to the trainer. It's got a little computer and a controllable flywheel, and it controls resistance. So where these hills are, it is physically harder for me to ride. Hence why my watts go up and why I keep changing gears. You might hear the clink, and it's probably that humming that hopefully the music's drowning out. And I've got water bottles and a little table. Got a mat so I don't destroy the carpet. Using my computer to run the training program and the stream at the same time, which I'm very lucky to have. Normally, when I'm doing the training rides, I just set Ruby up on my iPad, and it does the same thing, just not sharing with anyone. I don't have it on me, but when I go running and swimming, I've got a Garmin watch, which stays on my wrist, has a GPS tracker in it, and that tells me things like pace, distance, time, and connect to the heart strap as well, which also has some extra built-in features for running, like my cadence and stride length, those sort of extra things which would be really interesting to a coach but aren't as interesting to me, or I'm sure some of the people watching. And it helps me, guide my runs. It'll do this part of the run faster, part of it slower. And then for the swim, it's just to record how fast I'm going. I don't really use it to guide my swims. I'm very much a swim by feel. Yeah. Probably not a good swim student if I ever got swim coached. I'm very much I'll just do fast now because I feel good. But I'm not planning to go pro, so that's okay. As long as I can do the distance. So this next hour, short of any huge climbs, of which there aren't going to be many, it's all sort of the back end I expect. going to try and hold this aero position as best I can. Still probably get up every now and then just to shake up the shoulders, reset. It's one of those things where you're meant to feel comfortable like you're resting. Because my position isn't quite dialed in just yet, there's still times where I feel like I'm almost doing the pull-up to stay in this position. That was very true when I first got this right. When I was setting it up. It took some time dangling to try and figure out. I've also got a lingering right shoulder injury from a few years ago. That means I find it tough to hold the right arm in position, and where it's sort of straight now, I almost need to cross it over, sort of like this, to feel comfortable, which defeats the purpose of the arrow position. If anyone does have any questions they want to ask me, jump onto the live chat and I'll keep an eye out for them popping up. Have a read, answer them as best I can. There we go. Ta-da! caught on the towel. Hey, sweetie.
What about halfway?
Almost.
Hi viewers, is there anyone there? You can't see me yet, but I...
Here's the special part of the stream. My wife.
My wife! I'll probably have to be copyrighted.
Probably. That's right.
Very nice, very nice. Oh, look. I want to get one of the plaques to show us.
No, why?
I don't know what we're doing. My wife. Okay. Keep going.
Yep. Enjoy those bricks.
Huh?
Enjoy those bricks. Probably. Oh, that's a shame. So the other dude on the course must have finished the workout or disconnected from this particular server. Yeah, no longer on. It's a shame because it would have been really cool to show me getting overtaken and just highlight sort of how Ruby looks for those who want to know.
It's vlogception. It's vlogception.
Is the sound still working?
Yeah. Can you see? I commented.
I did.
I think I went on TikTok.
That's right. I threw up part when I saw it. Hearts in the chat.
What else you compare to the vlog?
Yep, here I come.
Who's up, Pat? Who's Audrey? For the vlog. He's a big fan. Ooh.
Poor Ruby.
She loves Dad.
Thank you, Ruby. I love you too. Might give her a kiss for the more sweaty and smelly. Fingers cut. Alrighty. So what I'm about to do is pretend I'm at an aid station. I'm going to wait until the online bike comes to a complete stop. Otherwise, I don't think that's fair. I'm going to go fill up my water bottle. So, in the races, generally on the bike, there's one about every 20 k's on the bike, and 5 k's on the run, depending on the course. When I do the challenge, it's going to be partially looped, so I'm going to be starting in Willow Grove, then ride down to Trafalgar, have an aid station there, and then ride to Warragul, and then I'll do a loop around Warragul that's about 30 k's long ish, off memory. I'm going to have an aid station that I consistently come back to make sure things like water, fuel, toilet breaks, all those sort of things can happen. We are paused. So I can jump off and I'll be back in a second. I promise that sound was just the water filling up. Nothing untoward. And in the races, you can stop at the aid stations. That's all good. It's all about getting the supplies, stretching, whatever you need to keep going. Good metaphor for life. Okie dokie. Wonder if I can put up a map. Don't think so though. Alright, let's get back into it. So I'm going to try and hold arrow until this hill that's coming up, and then that'll almost bring me to the last hour of the ride for today. I won't complete all of the bar down the bottom, but that's okay. With this sort of training, it's important to know that your body doesn't count distance. Your body doesn't measure kilometers. It measures time and effort. That's what your body cares about. So for me, that's why it's been really important to have as much of that bar on the left in the blue with a healthy amount of grey in there, because my body is adapting to the time in those sort of effort zones, those power zones. My body doesn't know that I've virtually cycled for nearly 50 Ks. It knows I've been virtually cycling for an hour and 54 minutes at this sort of effort. That's something that's really important to note if you're getting into training. Don't try and chase the Ks. Listen to your body, chase the effort and the time, and be graceful to yourself in acknowledging the effort that you're putting in. It's also the same thing with speed. Body doesn't know. Oh, sort of. Body doesn't know that I'm riding at 20 k's an hour. It knows that I'm riding at 150 watts or running at. You can get watts for running as well, it's just a bit harder to do, but it knows you're running at the effort that, pardon me, certain paces translate to in terms of watts and work effort, and how long you've been doing those watts and work and effort for. For everyone who's tuned in for any length of time, if you've been brave and tuned in for all of it so far, or even just little bits at the beginning or in the middle, thank you very much. I appreciate your support. I especially want to say thanks to everyone who's donated to the fundraiser so far. I appreciate not everyone's in positions to do that. And that's why things like this, where I know people are taking time out of their lives to watch and support and follow along with the journey, to me, that's just as appreciated. This last hour, generally, these longer rides, I've done the last little bits, not in aero, unless I feel that the inklings go in it. Sometimes your wrists get a bit sore. It's more comfortable to get into aero. But I was talking a bit about active recovery before. That's sort of what I treat this last hour as I get closer to the event. We'll obviously turn into very specific. I'll need to keep pushing that last hour to make sure I'm good to go for the run. The hills don't help. This is where sort of self-discipline needs to come in. Part of the reason I take this last hour a bit easier is because still got a bit of life to live. Got gardening to do this afternoon. Standard house things. Shopping tomorrow. I've got more training tomorrow, hopefully. I'll pull up okay after today. And if I use all my week's energy in this ride, then I can't pick up the consistency of my other training. And that other training can't support more rides like this. Something you may notice is on the bike that's going fast, I've got low watts, I've got a really high cadence. In real life, I definitely don't. It's just one of the technology limitations of the trainer. I could first splash some cash on a cadence device, cadence meter, but in my training, cadence is a guide, not a metric of success. And on this trainer, it's not as bad as my slightly older smart trainer, which often did the opposite, especially when going uphill. I'd do lower watts, still at around 80 RPM, but it would measure it as like 20, because that trainer was had the wheel on, so it couldn't quite as directly measure what the pedal was doing. How much should be a red hill? 6%. As you might have just seen as well, this is sort of why I don't train to heart rate often. In that aero position and when you're doing a higher cadence, your cardiac system's working more. So that's why my heart rate jumped into the yellow zone 4, according to Ruby. That's not my actual threshold heart rate, as far as I can tell. If it was, I'd be concerned, because at my ripe age, my theoretical max heart rate should be, still close to 200 beats per minute. Not a target many people should aim to get to. And zone 4 is meant to be like, I think it's at 90% of your max. So if I've lost that much, that would probably be from the surgery and the gallbladder issue. And if that's the case, that's the case. It's just one of those tricky things where, as you age, naturally your heart wears down. So it's something to be mindful of and be careful of. Why if you're spry, you can go real fast, spry and young. But it's also why people who have been fit their whole lives can sort of keep going at older ages. It's because they've trained their heart for not just 3 years like me, but all throughout their life. They say in the triathlon world that generally your peak comes at about 10 years into the sport. So if that's the case, then when I'm in my mid-30s and Lycra's changed a bit more and it's a lot more fashionable than it seems to be these days still, then I'll be able to be peak mammal. I'm a middle-aged man in Lycra. Last half an hour for me on these rides has always been the trickiest. When the muscles start to notice that they've been used. Especially my quads and abductors. But it also means now it's time to keep working to strengthen those. And strengthen the tendons and the ligaments in the body to keep at it. Hey,
What is
I got that.
Alright, we are all cut. The only ones I haven't cut, there's, did you see those red ones kind of mixed in? That don't match with the rest.
Yep. Hey,
Those ones cut directly in the middle of it. I'm going to control it. Massive red ones.
lovely.
Huge ass. For the viewers at home, it was huge. This red bag scared the shit out of me. It was hiding underneath. Okay, so you've got like what, 20 minutes left?
Yep.
I have to take my watch off after like 3 bricks because it was getting
Absolutely covered.
it was disgusting. And I'm soaked. Well, my legs are
This is a sort of conveniently timed hill. Convenient because it's a good segue into the cool down. Not so convenient because this is a lot of crunch for the old legs going into cool down. Alrighty. So what's happened here is this is the turnaround point on the Ironman course. That's why we did that random U-turn. So now, in the cool down, is probably the only time I really actively use the heart rate. Trying to bring it into zone 1. Means the body's reducing its effort, cooling down properly while still being active. Probably won't go lower than 100. An achievement. There we are. Obviously not all today. 100 Ks, but 500 Ks on the platform. Yeah, recovery heart rate. Bring it back down to, standard living heart rate for most people. Try and go a slightly higher cadence. That'll help flush all that lactic acid from the system. And yeah, last minute, just make it real slow, low cadence, nice and easy. And that is it. So I've just come to a nice steady stop. Well, thank you everyone for joining this live stream on this nice sunny Saturday down in Warragul, Victoria. Really appreciate everyone who joined in for parts, check-ins, long bits, short bits. Yeah, it's good to have all of your support. Hopefully now you can see a little bit of what I do. While we're here, here's the stats for all those who are statistically inclined. A little bit under 3 hours for moving time, but that's okay. 2 minutes isn't going to make or break me. Thank you again to everyone who has donated, not just today, but so far along the journey. It's early days, got plenty of time left to go. And your continued support for me, for the Heart Foundation, is greatly appreciated. I'll post something shortly, definitely by tonight, on the Instagram, and it'll get shared to Facebook. Yeah, and that'll sort of go through what was achieved today. And then, yeah, going forward, fingers crossed to have a live stream every Saturday, just to help spread the word. People can watch. If you want to join in, I do have a referral code for Groovy to give you some dollars off. That's in the episode, the live stream description. It's that tiny URL. And yeah, if I get a bunch of people who want to join, I'll figure out how we do a group ride, and we can all ride together. So yeah, thanks very much, everyone. Enjoy your days. Stay safe. And I will see you